Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4050. Today's date is May 12, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 7:42 a.m. All right. Okay. Should we jump into the question? Let's go. Okay. So question is, how will I balance the voice masking? Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build an app called My Artifact. Okay, what exactly is this application? Well, when you wrote the diary every single day, you cannot able to be write the diary the way that you wanted to. The reason is that the way that you think is much more faster than way that you write, and because of this thing, like we cannot able to be write that much. Like basically when you started writing a diary, there is a lot of constraint. You need a pen, you need a paper, you need a convenience, you need a kind of like a something that keep like a spelling mistake and lot of things. Okay, yeah. And also it had another extra effort to express your thoughts and things and that, and that's why very less people are kind of like a writing their diary. But when you wrote the diary, you actually connect with yourself. You actually kind of like a basically understand yourself more and things and that. Uh, what if I would convert writing a diary into recording a diary, like a recording audio diary? Okay, yeah. I call this thing artifact. Audio recording diary. I call this thing artifact. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now, this is my artifact. My artifact episode number 4050. Okay, I am doing this thing for past 11 year. I am doing this thing every single day, and because of this kind of like a recording artifact or self reflection process, it add so much amount of value inside of me. The person that I am today and the person that I will become tomorrow, it is all because of kind of like a something artifact. The amount of value that I get from artifact, I wanted to share this value, that people also kind of like a feel that they are kind of like a getting the value from the artifact and things and that. But how do I supposed to be share this value? How do I supposed to share this technicality to the people? By building an application. Okay, my app is a kind of like a somewhat something like a YouTube. In the YouTube platform, you actually upload your video, other people sees your video. It's a kind of like a same. You actually record your artifact, upload your artifact in artifact platform. Other people listen your artifact. There is a one catch is that key privacy. Like in my platform, in my artifact, no one will gonna know what is actually their real name. Like my real name is Saurabh Authare, but my artifact handle name would be Prozac 1943 or something else. Okay, yeah. It kind of like a create that masking or kind of like a layer that adding a kind of like a privacy layer, which would kind of like a defend me to kind of like a from every possible scenario. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of like a my application. Right now I'm actually building this application. Okay, yeah. But before I wanted to build, I wanted to know all the possible consequences. Okay, yeah. What might think happen, right thing, wrong thing, and how do I supposed to overcome that? How do I supposed to be kind of like how do I supposed to be kind of like a some this thing that key the problem that might gonna occur in the future. How do I supposed to solve this problem in right now so that I might not face those problems in the future? Okay, so I went to ChatGPT. I tell my idea, and I suggest that key suggest me at least like a hundreds of all the possible wrong consequences will gonna happen, and how do I supposed to overcome with it. So ChatGPT kind of like a suggests me hundreds of question. This is one of those question. By the way, the question actually in the mobile phone, but while recording, I cannot do this thing. So that's why I wrote the question in here. By the way, this is the new book that I'm reading. Not new book. I've been reading for almost like a month. This book is not kind of like a trying to end. I'm trying to end this book as much as possible, but this is like a very heavy book. Yeah, I'm reading almost like a 10 minute. Okay, yeah, not too much, because if I try to read more than that, then probably I cannot able to consume the information. It's a very difficult information, very difficult kind of like a language that they use, and yeah, still I'm trying. Okay, yeah. So question is, how do I supposed to be wait? How will I balance the voice masking and emotion? Okay, what is actually voice masking and emotion? Okay, so in my application, okay, user will kind of like have this feature that they would replace their audio track, they would replace their voice. How? Well, people will like basically, if some people, they are kind of like a recording artifact, and they might think that they might not get that much privacy, so that like their real identity while might gonna kind of like something that expose, if they use their own voice, and they wanted to, and they want that kind of like they wanted to use the kind of like voice masking. So how it actually happened? Okay, first of all, what kind of like a privacy kind of like I'm giving to you the profile? Well, my first challenge is that making sure that my user is a stay private. Okay, yeah. How do I supposed to do that? By giving the privacy not to the user, plus like I'm not gonna do the privacy to the user. I'm gonna kind of like give the privacy to the artifact. Okay. Um, but how do I supposed to do that? Okay, first of all, as I mentioned, username. Okay, yeah, their real name is always hidden. They have a kind of like a seen a random username. Okay, yeah, one privacy. Second privacy is that making sure that people will not gonna share their personal detail. Okay, like their name or their kind of like a location or other people name, nothing really at all. So for that particular process, I have a kind of like a something feature called kind of like a trimming segment. Like a basically is this thing, when the user will talk, like right now I'm actually talking. So when the user actually talking, they might gonna mention people name. Okay, first of all, let me tell you the second privacy that I'm gonna kind of like tell you. Second privacy is that when user will started recording, when they hit the record, there is a screen appear. Okay, yeah, that screen, a warning screen appear for 10 seconds. There is a countdown. Okay, in that warning screen there is a kind of like a specifically mention, do not mention your name, do not mention your other people name or location or nothing really at all. Okay, yeah, just tell your story, that's it. This is kind of like a simply the kind of like a warning screen is a very much essential, so that user will understand, okay, I shouldn't supposed to be kind of like a simply share all the detail and things and that. Okay, making sure that the mistake would gonna happen, I would make sure that mistake would not gonna happen in the first place. So this privacy screen is a kind of like a really helpful. Okay, but still after the privacy screen, people might gonna mention their name at the spur of the moment. They might gonna mention their name and things and that. So in that situation, how do I supposed to be give them privacy? Okay, well, basically is this thing, even after the user kind of like mention the name, my application is actually powered by AI. Okay, so it converted audio into the text subtitle. Okay, and that subtitle comes with a timestamp. Okay, so in 2 minute 33 second, I mention particular name, it detect the name. AI will kind of like detect the name. Name means what? Saurabh Othare. I am from Saurabh Othare. I am from Wardha, Maharashtra. So basically, Saurabh Avthare is a name. Wardha, Maharashtra is a name. Okay. So basically, is this thing what is gonna happen at 2 minutes 33 seconds? This particular user mention his name or mention the name or mention the location. Okay, yeah. So what exactly happened that particular segment is actually trim out or add a beep. So end user will kind of like a listen. My name is beep. I am from beep. Okay, so basically this kind of like a things actually happen. Maybe beep or mute. Okay, yeah, because that particular segment is actually trimmed down by AI. Okay, by application. Okay, this is the kind of like a things before it went to public. Before it went to kind of like a public, this will kind of like happen internally. Okay, this is the third privacy layer. Okay, yeah. After that, user after artifact will not gonna able to publish. Okay, yeah. User should supposed to be the person who kind of like a recorded artifact. That particular person should supposed to be listen his artifact first. Okay, entirely. Okay, that is very much essential. The whatever the artifact that he kind of like a talk, he should supposed to be listen, so that he would re-verify that ki okay, basically my privacy is a kind of like a established and I didn't really mention my name and things and that, so that user will kind of like confirm that he was kind of like a when he was really sure that ki, okay, I should supposed to publish this artifact. After he listen and after he sure that ki, okay, let's proceed further, so then he proceed to the publish, and then that artifact went to the public. Okay, yeah, and that public like a public, then people will kind of like a listen your artifact. So this is the process. Okay, yeah. Now this process is for the normal people. Okay, yeah, for the normal people. But what if some people are kind of like a very like a high value people? Okay, like they might think that ki their identity might gonna compromise because their voice is might gonna recognize. Let's take an example, Shah Rukh Khan. If the Shah Rukh Khan is a kind of like a started recording artifact, obviously he already established person. People already knew how he sounds like. And when he started recording the artifact, obviously people will kind of like listen, even if there is no hidden detail mention, but still people will gonna realize. So in that situation, how do I supposed to do this thing? This feature is for only that particular people, or this feature is only for kind of like it comes with a price. Okay, because what is actually happened that na ki in this feature, I am kind of like a clone their voice. Okay, by AI, I am kind of like replacing their voice by something else, so that their voice shouldn't supposed to match with their own. Okay, which will kind of like a really helpful. But it's a very like there is a lot of processing will gonna happen. Okay, and there is a lot of process actually happen. Then I'm making sure that key basically okay, there is a lot of process will gonna happen. Okay, yeah. So obviously it takes with a kind of like a lot of like it really required a lot of processing thing. Okay, processing. So I need a kind of like I'm not gonna implement this feature as early as possible. No, in the future I might gonna do this thing like when the artifact will kind of like become popular and things and that, then I will implement this feature, but not at the beginning. Okay, yeah. Now the question is here that ki how do I supposed to balance between the voice masking and emotion? Now what is exactly that? Now when let's just say a particular person who wanted to utilize the voice masking, okay, AI will kind of like replace the entire track. So in that situation there is a kind of like a problem actually happen. What problem? When people will kind of like record the artifact, they will talk, they will take a gap, they will proceed with the emotions, they will like basically the way that I'm talking right now. The way that I'm talking right now is a kind of like a somebody have pause, have a kind of like a when I laugh, there is a lot of things, the background sound and things and that. Okay, yeah. So it is called kind of like a voice plus emotion. Both are together. Okay, yeah. But when I replace the voice, okay, yeah, so there is no emotion at all. Have you ever heard that ki AI voices are kind of like a very like a sound robotic? Okay, yeah. And when the user will kind of like see there is a robot sound, then probably people will kind of like put the attention that ki, okay, this particular person might be very big person, or maybe this particular person is a yeah, because the robot sound is a clearly defined that this is a robot sound. Okay, yeah. So how do I supposed to be make sure that it shouldn't supposed to sound like robot, and it should supposed to be sound like a natural human person with emotion, with exactly as it is. I'm not really sure at how do I supposed to do that, but I have to be do this thing. Okay, yeah, because if the kind of like a, somebody the person who thinks that their privacy might gonna compromise and they wanted to utilize this feature, then I have to be not only mask their voice, but as well as it should be masked with such a voice that their emotions and their everything kind of like intact. Okay, yeah, but not too much, but not too more. Okay, it doesn't sound like robotic, but it sound like kind of like a somewhat something a natural human being and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. This is the one thing I was actually thinking that I would supposed to be change the pitch. Okay, yeah, change the pitch means like that ki kind of like a somebody whatever the people voice, the original voice that they have, kind of like a change the pitch in the editing process. When it change the pitch, the the volume kind of like a something, the voice kind of like a change, but sometimes it kind of like a voice squishy, or sometimes it sounds like a monster. Okay, yeah. I don't want that. Okay, but still is this thing that na ki I was actually thinking about this feature a lot, and I'm not going to implement in the early process. No, I'm going to make sure that ki like when the user really required that voice feature, voice masking, then I will gonna implement. Okay, but let me kind of like tell you. Okay, basically it's this thing now, I am been recording this artifact for past 11 year, and basically I do have a lot of experience regarding about recording artifact. And another thing is that na ki voice masking and privacy compromise. Okay, yeah, that is true, that is definitely I'm gonna provide all the privacy things that user wanted, that and things and that, which is very essential by the way, because if you are kind of like a sharing your personal deep thoughts, it is my responsibility to make your private, make your thoughts private. Okay, yeah, that is true, yes. But throughout this year of experience, I realized that ki basically is this thing na ki the how much you hide your thoughts, the less advantage that you get. Okay, from your thoughts. Okay, what is actually less advantage? Okay, um, most of the time when you record the artifact, okay, at the beginning you might gonna talk shit. Yeah, literally talk shit. Okay, like basically first year or second year of recording artifact would be just shit talk, nothing really happened. But after you being really continue, and after you are continue doing this thing for at least like a non-stop 3 year and 4 year, you realize something that your thoughts are so good, like literally so good, like you are proud of yourself that you kind of like said something like that. Okay, yeah. Like basically take me, why I'm talking this thing on this video platform on the YouTube, that you could see me, you could see my background, you could see my voice and things and that and that. Like basically is this thing that na ki I'm not hiding myself. I am I'm not kind of like thinking about my privacy compromise. Even if I know that ki because of recording this thing I might gonna kind of like face a lot of consequences in the future, but still I am accepting this thing, and still I'm kind of like recording this artifact with my voice, with my background, with my face and things and that, because I realized something is that ki like basically your thoughts are always been messy, that is true, but at some certain point after you experience that thing you are talking really good. Okay, like right now I'm talking really good, at least from my point of perspective. Okay, and it really, it kind of like somebody is this thing that it shaped me. Okay, it shaped me like a basically. Okay, how do I supposed to explain this thing? Let's imagine that you wrote a poem, a very beautiful poem. Would you supposed to be hide your name, or would you supposed to be kind of like attach your identity with that poem? Obviously you want to attach with your identity with your poem. Okay, yeah. Privacy is a very much essential when you are kind of like sharing deep thoughts and things and that. But another thing that you understand na ki the amount of deep thoughts that you have, you think that ki okay, this is a kind of like a very crucial thing that I kind of like express in the artifact, and I should supposed to be hide from people or hide from my name and things and that, people are always saying it's not really that ki it's actually happened with you, nothing really happened with other people. No, nothing really at all. People have different stories and things and that, and your deep thoughts are not just from your point of perspective. You might think it's a deep thought, but for end user it's a kind of like a just another artifact. Okay, that's it. Oh yeah. So if you are kind of like a basically using the voice masking, then what will gonna happen that key, I don't know, yaar. Okay, I think that now I let the user to think about that. Okay, yeah. Not right now. Obviously, is this thing artifact is a kind of like a self-reflection process. You are sharing deep thoughts, and obviously you wanted that privacy thing. Like the stuff that I'm talking right now, it's for the such a people who are get experience. Like when they are kind of like experienced in recording artifact for almost like a 2 3 year. After 2 3 year they kind of like unlock the potential of their value and thoughts and things and that, and they are not really scared of their identity and things and that, and for that people they can able to be attached with their real name in my platform, and they would kind of like see the kind of like a value of the artifact. Like they might kind of mention their real name. There is no privacy at all because they are kind of like aware of all the possible things. Okay, even if they would have record their video artifact too. Okay, yeah. Like basically they are kind of like they are kind of like okay with this thing. Yeah, because still is this thing, even if the like still I have to be kind of like making sure that key, like like basically artifact, it's a kind of like a reflection of the people thought process. Okay, yeah. Raw, unfiltered, right? I am making sure that like basically what is actually happened now. Okay, yeah. You are kind of like thinking about privacy a lot. Okay, yeah. You might thinking that ki privacy is very much essential, but people are actually utilize privacy for wrong purposes. Okay, yeah. Imagine a kind of like a person who's a kind of like standing in the auditorium, but and he was kind of like giving the speech, but behind the curtain. Okay, yeah. So when the person who is actually behind the curtain, that particular person might gonna talk anything that they want. Okay, because no one actually sees him, and people might gonna take this advantage. They might gonna talk shit because they might think that the other people might not gonna recognize and things and that. You might not gonna do this thing, but other people might gonna do that. They might gonna do the kind of like hate speeches or things or whatnot that. And obviously artifact is a raw, unfiltered. People talk shit, that is definitely true. I also talk shit too. Okay, yeah. So this is what it is like this is what kind of like a things. The artifact is a kind of like a bit really messy. Okay, yeah. When the kind of like somebody user will kind of like somebody the kind of like a privacy and all the time and things and that. So that is what I have to maintain the privacy. How do I supposed to be kind of like give the privacy so that people will not gonna talk shit? But I would kind of like give the such a privacy that people will kind of like somebody their inner thoughts will kind of like kept it kind of like a hidden, or maybe kept it kind of like a somebody privacy. There is a lot of things to figure it out. Okay, yeah. So yeah, like a privacy is a kind of like a things that na ki also is this thing na. I'm not gonna talk about this thing at the moment. Why I'm kind of like a building this application. I am promised that I will kind of like give the privacy, but I have to be understand the people thought process. I have to understand that does people want that privacy feature or not. Okay, yeah. I would not gonna implement the privacy feature if the people doesn't really want that. Okay, yeah. I created this platform so that people should supposed to be express their thoughts very clearly and freedomly and things and that. And obviously that freedom came from the privacy, but which is really good. But I wanted to make sure that people will not going to utilize for that privacy for wrong purposes. Take a Twitter. Okay, yeah. Twitter is a kind of like a platform where people kind of like a share their tweets and things and that. But since the Elon Musk bought the Twitter, converted into the X, okay, yeah, then people are, and Elon Musk kind of like says that you can express yourself very clearly, and people are kind of like utilizing this opportunity for very wrong purposes. People are talking shit. People are talking racist comment. People literally uploaded their kind of like a naked photo in that platform. X is a kind of like a social media platform, and people are kind of like uploading naked photo of themselves. People are kind of like uploading kind of like a naked video, naked porn film on that channel on the Twitter. Okay, yeah. Right. So basically, yeah, I don't want that my platform should supposed to fill with all those things. Okay, I wanted to give the freedom to the people, but I don't want that people should supposed to talk about the sex stories and things and that, which is also not really good. Sex is essential. I'm not saying that sex is not really good. Sex is good. Yeah, I'm not considered as a taboo, but talking about this thing all the time and kind of like a something like a basically the let me tell you one thing. Now, artifact is a kind of like a things that na ki let's take a pencil. Okay, yeah. Artifact is a kind of like a somebody when you have a pencil, you can draw the beautiful painting. Okay, yeah, and it can add value and things and that. But that pencil, if you utilize for wrong purposes, that same pencil is a kind of utilized for stab somebody. That is a true. Okay, yeah. Artifact is a kind of like a things that now whatever you say, it implement on your real life. If I'm say this thing that I was gonna build the application, I was gonna build the application in real life, I'm building the application. Oh yeah. So whatever you say, it impact on real life too. Oh yeah. So basically, if you're talking shit, then your life would be become shit too. Okay, yeah. That is what it is. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't supposed to talk shit. Obviously, we all are human. Our thoughts are messy and things and that and that. But if you are kind of like a somebody utilize artifact for right purposes, for improving yourself, to understand the life, understand you, understand what is actually my inner thoughts and things and that, how do I supposed to guide them? Like I'm gonna make sure that you will gonna utilize the artifact for right purposes. I'm gonna kind of like guide you through that thing. Okay, yeah. But if you are kind of like utilize artifact for wrong purposes, then artifact will kind of like something end your life, literally just end your life. Okay, yeah. So this is what is it. Okay, so basically I'm thinking about a lot of things regarding about how do I supposed to give the privacy and things and that, but I have to make the balance between both of them, making sure that artifact will not gonna become spoiled or wrong, but making sure that you will kind of like become better and things and that. So yeah, this is it. This is my thought process regarding about that. Okay.